All right, everyone. I'm here with the great Latané Conant. How are you doing, Latané?
I guess I'm great. I never thought I was great, but hey, I'll take it.
Well, everyone at the Demand Gen Summit is great. So
Okay, true.
before we hop into it today, we're going to talk about a lot about your book, No Forms, No Spam, No Cold Calls, and how that relates to Demand Gen. But before we hop into that, just give us a little bit of your background, and you're currently CMO at 6 Cents and a recent author, and I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, yeah, I am currently the Chief Market Officer at 6 Cents. I'm a recovering software salesperson, so that's how I got going. I've also was an accountant and a CPA for a little bit.
Wow.
But I'm dyslexic, so that didn't take that one didn't stick. And then I just accidentally got into marketing, and the rest is history. It's the coolest, most fun job ever. So I feel very blessed.
Marketing's the place to be. And I can understand recovering CPA. My wife's a little bit of that right now. So, okay, so let's hop into it. So you recently wrote a book, and the title is No Forms, No Spam, No Cold Calls. So in relation to demand gen, how do you build demand without any of those things?
I know, it seems like a radical move, right?
Yeah.
These are the fundamentals. It's so funny. I was asked to do like a futuristic podcast, and they said, well, no forms, no spam, no cold calls. That's not really that radical. And I'm like, you don't understand where we are today. Like, this is literally the fundamentals of B2B demand gen. But, I think if you zoom out for 5 minutes and think about, they've done so many research on, you pick up any book on sales, on marketing, on customer experience, and the fundamentals are your audience and delivering value and like connecting with your audience. If you go back to the core of what we're trying to do.
Yep.
And so if you think about that as being the core, and how do you connect and add value and, understand their problems, and then you juxtapose that with the way that we're set up, which is form, spam, and cold calls, it becomes super obvious that maybe we need to make a change. And I think what's the most scary thing about the change is the MQL.
Yeah.
And that sort of that's created a problem that we don't need. And I mean, I even argue with board members about this, right? Where everyone's used to an MQL, even though it sets us up for kind of these poor behaviors and isn't really a great indicator of demand, because we know how to use it and we know how to track it. It's kind of like lie to me, but lie to me consistently. Mm-hmm. And so, when I work with people about this approach, the first thing I say is like, pretend you don't have to track MQLs. Like, you just don't. I'm a magic wand. I'm your godmother. You don't have to deal with them. Now, what do you design? Like, what is an amazing process putting, customer or future customer experience at the center look like? And you quickly see you're not going to use a form. You're not going to just spam. You're going to use all different tactics. You're going to be more relevant. And you're going to be looking not to pass a lead or a contact, because if you think about B2B, it's a whole buying team. And so really what sales and marketing start to collaborate on is who is the most ready to buy and ready for sales to engage. And that's typically a buying team of multiple people. So yeah, those are some of the philosophies in the book. And, when applied, you actually start using your dollars and your time way more efficiently than ever before. And so it actually is a more effective way. And, you know, kind of going back to the MQL and measurement, I think another problem that marketers have is, you know, we created somehow this nomenclature of account-based marketing got spun up, which is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But sales has always been account-based. So they're like, what the hell is your problem, marketing? Like, what are you talking about? And
I would even say account-based marketing really is B2B marketing. It's getting away from the spray and pray and like think about who are really my customers.
yeah. But it's also like, I think that when people think about an ABM campaign, they think, okay, I'm going to get my list of they think, okay, I'm going to do one-to-one or one-to-many, and I'm going to proactively target these folks. And that's not bad. I'm not saying that's bad. But I think we're not giving equal weight to who are we actually not going to sell to, right? Who are we not going to spend time on? Because that's where more problems and wasted time and energy happen. So it's just as much as like not every account is created equal. And so understanding that ICP, and then more importantly, the in-market ICP, and being able to focus more energy on that, and almost like disqualifying people that you don't think are going to be a good fit, is just as much of it.
Agreed. So you talked about customer experience, and as marketers, you know, sometimes we neglect that experience by throwing up the forms, gating the content, saying, no, you know, like you have to be our ideal customer or give us all this info to talk to us. Why do you think we've neglected that experience, and what can we do better as marketers?
Well, the reality is technology is a catalyst for change. And if you have good data and good technology, you already see them coming. Like, I don't have to put a form up because I see you. I know you're on my website. I know what you're doing. I know that, you know, you're in demand gen, and the head of digital is also on my website. And I know that your top keyword is predictive analytics or CDP or TAL or TAM or whatever. And so why would I not use that? Like, why would I, you know, if I can be a lot more smarter and savvy about how I engage, you don't really need a form.
Yeah. Agreed. So
and I think the big benefit of that, and I'll just is we spend so much money trying to get people to come to our website, trying to get them to learn from us. You know, trying to challenge your sale is all about like teach, tailor, take control, you know, trying to have them connect their problem to our point of view. And then it just makes no sense to then stop that process when it's getting good, just when they want to actually look at your ebook and maybe forward it around. It's just kind of silly.
It is. I agree with you there. So let me ask you then this, in your book, you talk about the dark funnel, and you've got to get some insights into your dark funnel. So will you lay out that dark funnel and how we can leverage that as marketers with the right tools?
You want me to lay out what it is? And
Yeah.
So the reality is, and you can look at Forrester, it depends, whoever you want to quote, it's anywhere from, call it 60 to 90% of the sales cycle that is happening anonymously. And it's happening anonymously across it's not B2C, it's not one person, it's probably 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I started in marketing, you know, it was like the rule of an 8 to 10 touch campaign. And like, that's what we talked about and we designed. Well, now like just a cadence is 22 touches. So tons of noise, all these buyers, majority of it anonymous. And what you have is a dark funnel, right? And only 13% of sales and marketers have any confidence in their data, their first party like CRM data. So that is not a funnel. Your real funnel is this dark funnel. It's actually a hairball. I should call it a dark hairball of stuff. And what's so frustrating is there is gold inside of that dark funnel.
Yeah.
There are teams of buyers that literally have the problem you solve for, and they're out there researching how to solve their problem. And you just don't know about it. And so the whole notion of uncovering your dark funnel is saying, okay, how do we start to expose that to you? And not just expose it as a big blob, but expose it as a known funnel that's lit, that shows you, hey, these are ideal, Billy, these are ideal accounts for you to sell to. And they are early stage in their journey. So you just as a marketer need them to know your brand. These are ideal accounts for you to sell to. And they're starting to progress. So you want them to learn from you. So make sure that they're engaging with your content. Guess what? Now they've, they're at a different phase. They're actually at the ideal phase for sales to engage. Let's make sure sales engages in that sweet spot. And so that's what we talk about, because the reality is our old school form spam cold call model, what happens is we wait for an inbound. That's too late. When I get an inbound, I'm pissed. If it is an inbound in one of our ICP accounts, I'm like, what the happened? How do we miss that? Because I want us to be engaging like in that sweet spot right when an account is like ready. And I want to be the first person that welcomes them to this wild world that is ABM. So anyway, so inbound is too late. And just because they want your ebook is too early. So it's finding that sweet spot and then being able to make sure that you adequately work accounts that are in that sweet spot.
So to you, when is the ideal time when you recognize that sweet spot and then engage them? Like, what are the flags they're throwing up?
Yeah, so typically, a couple things. One, what we do is we actually ingest 24 months of historical data. And so AI is basically looking for a pattern and telling me and saying, based on deals that you have closed before, this is the type of behavior they do. These are the personas that are typically engaging. This is the recency and frequency of their behavior. So it's all about like recognizing a pattern, essentially. Yep. And it's going to be a little bit different for everybody because everyone's motion is different. And this AI is always getting smarter and learning. But typically indicators would be like in my model, they're starting to research not just generic keywords, but more branded keywords. They, maybe have done some first party engagement. There's not just one persona engaged, there's multiple. So those are some of the things that kind of go into them, this model that's telling me exactly where they are. And the cool thing is I don't have to sit there and go to Mark who runs sales and say, oh my God, I did all these MQLs, we should work these, blah, blah, blah. Because literally we back test this model. And so Mark and I can both see, oh, wow, 90% of our revenue was accurately predicted. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for him. So then it's just about how we align our teams to work those predictions.
Yeah. So let's dig into that a little bit. How do you align your team, your marketing, Mark's in sales? we know that, buying's just not this linear journey. It's not, oh, we're going to check all the boxes and they're either going to buy or they're not. Any number of things can happen. So what are you guys doing to work together and stay aligned?
So, I mean, I think a critical role for us and like the linchpin is the BDR team. So I've done a lot of speaking. I mean, we had in February, we had a BDR appreciation week. So I think it's a really critical role, especially if you have kind of an enterprise B2B motion. And so, they're on point for like being in the pocket of when the sweet spot hits. And we actually treat the in market the same way you would an inbound. So it gets time stamped, and we can then see how we have a definition of what working an in-market account should look like what good looks like, and we can track what good looks like. We have a lot of, because they can see that things like the keywords, and we have a lot of like guides on the persona, and we map the content and cadences to keywords and personas. Like, we can make sure that their outreach is relevant. So I don't necessarily, not that I don't believe in personalization, but personalization is kind of table stakes. To me, it's about relevance. So we focus a lot with that team on the relevance of their outreach. And then we also work really hard on some of the basics of defining our sales stages and making sure we have really clear definitions of those. And then I think what's more interesting, because everyone has sales stages and definitions, but those are again about you, right? So
Yeah.
a sales stage is like, BANT or whatever. We don't use BANT, but like whatever, it's still about you.
Yeah.
So what I have done with my team is I've said, what is the buying team doing, thinking, feeling? What are they trying to solve if they're in this stage? And Gartner does a great job of talking about jobs to be done. They call it buying jobs.
Yep.
And so we've really adopted that approach to say, okay, if they're stage 3, that means that they're trying to huddle these 3 groups together. How do we make sure that we have an assessment that helps them assess these 3 functions, for example? And so we're building out our digital experience and our assets to map to where they are, to make sure that we're continuing to like progress them, and we've got good assets and experience to help them on their journey and help them continue to engage with us, hopefully to be a customer.
Great. Would you say the relevance and putting all that together is part of what you call your next level personalization?
Yeah. So I want to personalize for timing. I want to personalize for the keyword, and then the persona, and then the account. So all of those things ideally come together.
Awesome. I think that timing one is the key one of all of them, really, personally. I mean, it's pretty easy to identify the account and like have your bot or your form pop up and say, hey, 6 cents, glad you're here, But if that offer and the timing doesn't match up, it's not going to mean anything. Okay. Latané, thank you so much, and appreciate the time and your insights.
Oh, Billy, it's been fun. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. We'll see you.